Thanks very much for joining the first episode of Blade Boys. My name is Ted Flett,
And my name is Myth Das.
and we are here to analyze the ever changing and exciting world of figure skating and the colorful characters within it.
Yep, and we're all about the blades, but we're also all about the shades. So get ready for some pretty wacky commentary. I mean, much like a Domnina Chabalin Aboriginal dance, we are trying to be authentic, but you might find us occasionally offensive at times. So, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work.
And you can have some confidence that our credentials are exceptional. We're both former competitors. We both watch far more figure skating than we probably should at work, at school, all of the above. So rest assured, we're here to bring you through the figure skating season
And
and
we're
have
And we're Canadians too, so we're gonna give a little bit of a Canuckian perspective, so to speak, and we'll just we're all laced up and we're ready to go.
That's right. That's right. So with that in mind, Myth, let's first sort of put this next season into perspective, coming off of the 2015 World Figure Skating Championships,
Yes.
which were hosted in Shanghai, China. An exciting event where there was a bit of a really a reordering of the world rankings. We saw six brand new podium finishers. So the podium and the medal finishers looked quite different. In some events, like the women's event, all first time medalists.
And all for first-time world champions too, right? Like,
Yeah, yes, indeed.
yeah,
I had to
so,
do like a little
we're like a
little
little,
inventory there. Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Amazing. So, to some extent, that can be fairly common after an Olympic Games when there's quite a few retirements. But it really shows this past season that there's a real restructuring or a reordering of who's on top, and this next season in terms of looking into 2016, this is a great 2015, 2016. This is a great season for skaters to start to really affirm their position at the top of the heap and set themselves apart and on top as they head into the next Olympic Games, which in our case is 2018 in Pyeongchang. In our case, as if we're entering.
Well,
Surprise!
Well, another thing that I noticed about this particular cycle is teams aren't just like they're technically getting way stronger across all the disciplines. Like people are really starting to step up, and I think we're actually not just seeing people like a changing of the guard, so to speak, but we're actually seeing like figure skating itself being elevated to new technical heights. In some cases, literally heights.
Yeah.
And I think it's really great for the sport, and it's just a great time to be a fan.
So, Myth, I know you're at the edge of your seat to see what happens. Literally,
Literally.
Myth cannot contain himself over the men's event. Who are you liking? Who are you putting your money on? What do you think is going to happen? How it will shake down?
Well, I think the big story this year in men's is obviously the return of Patrick Chan. Like he had a great skate in the summer of last season, where it was a bit of a stripped down skate where he did only one quad and didn't do a series, but still pulled like 178 points or something like that. So he I don't think he's lost it. He has a great short program to Mac the Knife. Really shows off his like good qualities, and he's ready to like come back. I mean, his last major competition was like the Olympics, right? And he's probably really looking to redeem himself after that competition, which wasn't really great for anybody. And another skater on that note is the Olympic champion Yuzuru Hanyu, who has like totally maxed out his technical content, and he's having three quads. Obviously, he still has his gorgeous triple axles, and like he's the type of skater who, kind of controversially, like Chan was a couple years ago. He's gotten to such a level and has such a high difficulty that he can afford to make errors, but still own the competition. But then
Yeah.
you have obviously the world champion Javier Fernandez, who first time world champion for Spain, who definitely has something to say about that with all his quads, as well as Dennis Ten, who's gradually finding more of his consistency. And there are a ton of other guys too, who
Okay, well,
we'll
let
try
me
to
let
get to
me.
we'll try to get to
Yeah, yeah.
everybody at some point this season. But like, I'll let
It's a
Chan
long
have a
season, lots
chance.
to say.
Yeah,
But Myth, I agree with you. I think the return of Patrick Chan will be fascinating. Now, you say, and I got to agree with you that he's probably coming back to redeem himself. I mean, the Sochi Olympic gold medal practically had his name on the back of it until just a couple of months before the games when Yuzuru upset him at the Grand Prix final and then was able to ride that crest of momentum right through to Sochi and upset Patrick Chan's party. I think Patrick Chan has again just the right free skate that Chopin. It's sort of classical, quintessential, fabulous Chan that we've come to love. He knows what works. And he has said that he's not looking for more medals and he's not looking for redemption. I'm not sure that that's necessarily true.
that would
But
be
just
nice.
to get into the psychology of Patrick Chan, like I wonder, I do sort of, it fascinates me to think of like what spurs a skater to come back. I mean, he's got three
He's
world
got three world
titles,
titles, three in a row.
two Olympic silvers when you look at the team medal. I mean, he's won everything on the planet except that, the bloody Olympic gold. You got to figure that he's going to make another run at 2018 and try and finally clinch that.
Of course. And just to talk about some of the other guys who are up and coming, I mean, the U.S. men, they managed to get three spots at the last year's Worlds, and I think Jason Brown is a fabulous skater, but he needs to get his quad under wraps. I mean, he's now gotten his triple axel more consistent, but like girl, he's got to get it going because like his quad, while it's gradually improving, it's still not fully rotated. And under this Coda point system, that's the most important thing. And you have skaters like Joshua Ferris, who beautiful skater, who's actually landing quads and has a wonderful triple axel, and he's coming back like
Yeah.
after like a season of injury. And then, of course, on the Junior Grand Prix, you have Nathan Chen, who just laid down a fabulous free skate with two quads and two axles, like one of the best junior performances and even performances ever by a guy. So he'll definitely be looking to challenge Brown as well at
Yeah, and
nationals.
you even add, a Max Aaron into the mix, who is
Yep.
the quad master and really stretching the boundaries of his sort of choreographic capacity with a new program to Swan Lake, which
Hmm.
is quite unique for him. But I gotta say, Myth, I agree that Jason Brown needs to get the quad, and I give him full marks that he is going after that quad this season. It appears so, anyways, with a vengeance. And this is the season to do it. Yes, he wants to make a statement and continue to improve and capitalize on a very impressive fourth place finish at the Worlds. Like he's just on the outside of the medal podium without a quad. I think this is the time for him to throw himself around the ice, frankly, and really work diligently to land a quad in competition, so that in the next two seasons, in the run up towards Pyeongchang, he's got that locked and loaded. And his
He has
artistry is
everything
just
everything right?
exceptional.
Like he has
Absolutely. I mean,
everything else. Like
that
it's
the his
beautiful.
free skate now to the piano, the footwork sequence in that
Right.
in that free skate is unbelievable. I
It's
mean,
pretty
it's
much
just
figure skating
it's
in like
mess
one. See, like it's like he's
it's
brilliant. He
mesmerized.
just needs to
Yep.
get himself technically together.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, I guess the last guy we'll sort of talk about for now is Mr. Spicy Nam Nguyen. Like he laid it down. He was the only guy at last year's Worlds to have a clean competition with a quad. Which he learned last season. This season he's focusing on skating bigger, and I feel like he's like kind of like a Sui Han type, where everyone sees him as a kid or juniorish because of his stature, but
Yeah.
then he really has to break free from that and develop his maturity. But I mean, with Brian Orser as a coach and being like fifth at like your second Worlds, like that's pretty incredible. And I think once he develops his overall skating, I think he just has that right competitive mindset that and the right like crew behind him that he could like come 2018 he could even challenge Chan like that. that could be like even like he could be one of Chan's top competitors at that
Yeah.
point. And I think
Hey,
it's a great time for men's skating in Canada, actually.
absolutely. I mean, we kind of thought, well, I thought there was going to be a dearth of talent with Patrick Chan's, stepping out last season, and Nam made it really interesting.
Yeah.
I think he might still challenge Patrick Chan
Hmm.
at the Canadian National Championships if Patrick doesn't bring his A game, or
Yeah.
if if he leaves a triple axel, out there, or doesn't land a triple axel rather.
Hmm.
Nam will be right there to pick up the points if he leaves any on the table. So if Chan leaves any on the table, so I think he made the event quite interesting.
For
I
sure.
do want to jump in on Yuzuru Hanyu. I love what I'm seeing in terms of his new free skate.
Yes, the
He's
Saime. Yeah.
yeah, so he's departing from this over the top melodramatic, Romeo and Juliet, two different versions of Romeo and
Ina
Juliet. He's skipping
Bauer.
back, yeah, total Phantom of the Opera, like.
Yeah.
Girl, give us a break. So I like that he's
It's
doing something a
good.
bit
He's an
bit more
elegant
subtle.
skater though. He's an elegant skater. So
True, but similar to a Jason Brown, who's really got to move ahead. Technically, I like that. This season Zero is sort of pushing himself and stepping out of what usually works for him
Mhm.
choreographically. It might be a flop. I'm not sure. We'll wait and see. But I give him full props for pushing, trying something new and different. And Dennis Ten, love that guy. I would be perfectly happy if Dennis Ten
Yeah.
dominated this season and won worlds.
He's
I
just
don't
been waiting
expect
for
it.
it.
And you know what? I don't think any of us need to expect him to be any good from September through to January, frankly. And because that's been his cycle. And he's somehow comfortable with that, and I'm okay with that too.
True, and but I think he's due for a good Grand Prix season, which makes the Grand Prix final really interesting, especially with like Chan coming back and most likely taking a spot from somebody else. And of course, there's so many other talented guys. I mean, we haven't even gotten into like the Russian men who are like slowly but surely like kind of catching up to the rest of the field.
Yeah.
But like there's the men's competition is going to be huge. I mean, Hanyu is going to be trying a quad loop. We also have, oh yeah, one quick mention was Boyang Jin, who landed an amazing quad ledge triple toe in practice and could probably land for even five quads with a Lutz, two Salchows, and two toes. Like he could
And a
like
partridge in a pear tree.
yeah, and a partridge in a pear tree, right? If we're talking like
He's got
five
everything in
quad
that program.
jumps, right?
Yeah.
So like he's not as artistically thing, but I think a lot of guys are also pushing the technical envelope, which gets back to what we said earlier, where moving to the Olympics, like people are really trying to step up their game and like start practicing and getting the big tricks out there in competition.
Yeah. Okay. Let's finish off with the men.
Okay.
And shall we move on to the Paris competition, which I
Yes.
am over the moon excited about.
Hmm.
Uh, Similar to
Your
the
heart can't take it. Like you like Yuka Kawaguchi is like
totally
ready to
the
show it
burst
off.
blood vessels on my face. That's from the excitement over the Paris competition. It's not due to a cold that I'm currently trying to get over. Yeah. Okay. So similar to the men's event and the women's event, there's a big comeback to talk about in pairs, which is Volosashar and Trankov, the Sochi pairs Olympic champions, and perhaps arguably the most brilliant pair the sport has ever seen. Um, but similar to the men's event, there's been now a reshuffling of the world order, and of course, last year Megan Duhamel and Eric Radford of Canada didn't just sort of move up, a spot because there was an opening. They chased and fought and scrapped their way to the top of the podium with unbelievable choreographically, I thought very impressive programs that
Hmm.
highlight their strengths and that amazing throw quad Salchow.
Hmm.
And
Um,
girl's got cat feet. Like she can land that. I
she
mean,
does.
most skaters.
That's the thing about Megan is her air position isn't quite as stable or as straight as some of the other skaters, but she just has that instinct, and I think she just has
Yeah,
that tenacity, and I think that really speaks to that team last season. They were just so hungry to just up their game. Like they took on Stolbov and Klimov with in fine form. Like everyone was thinking Stolbov and Klimov like whatever, like they're bound to win everything, but like like Duhamel and Radford worked really, really hard to like not just like increase their difficulty, but also really improve their programs and say like, hey, we're here too. Like we're not just double world bronze medalists. We're a contender, and we will be a contender come Sochi. And also pairs don't just have to have a maximum throw that's a triple loop, no shade, like Balazar and Trankov, who have their throw triplets now, but there were so many for so many years, like the standard was, oh, side by side triple toe, oh, side by side double axles, and throw triple Saka, throw triple loop, and then have your triple twist and just call it a day, right? Like,
Yeah.
but like they're like skaters like them and skaters like Sui and Han with their quad twist, and now this season they're adding back in their quad Salchow, where he literally just flings her like. He's like, okay, I'll just see you in 5 minutes, Sui. Like,
Yeah, you can hardly tell it's a quad because they don't seem to do any different setup. Kawaguchi and Smirnov, for example, a quad's coming.
Yeah.
Like 5 paces.
Because we're all like holding our breath, like, girl, just
yeah, and it just she goes into this sort of expressionless robotic state form in preparation. Whereas Sui and Han, it's just a couple pieces of footwork and then boom, up she goes for 4 rotations
up,
on the end of it.
And just like
incredible. So it will be very interesting to see how Duhamel Radford and the Velocity Trankov sort of battle pans out. And fortunately, we don't even have to wait till the Grand Prix final. The Grand Prix placements have been announced, and they're actually going to go head-to-head at NHK in Japan, which I think is going to be like the headliner event of the Grand Prix series.
Yeah, and well, I think NHK and also Skate Canada, I mean, you have like a great matchup with like Yuzuru Hanyu going straight against like Patrick Chan. Like, you would think those guys like would avoid each other on the Grand Prix, but like they actually Olympic season they went together head to head twice. So it's like these skaters aren't backing down. They are going like straight for each other. And like in pairs, I think another team obviously on the comeback is Sobova and Klimov. Well, comeback, like they didn't compete the second half of last season, but Sobov and Klimov, I think they have a lot to prove because again, being the Olympic silver medalists, but also I think they themselves knew that they just really didn't have the technical chops to beat Duhamel and Radford if Duhamel and Radford went clean. So this season they went back. They're working on a quad Salchow. They're working on a triple double combination, which would be unprecedented as well in pairs. So like Kawaguchi and Smirnov's for quad loop, Duhamel and Radford's for quad Lutz. The triple by Soba, like all these teams, they're just like looking. It's like they looked at the point sheet and are like, okay, let's start getting some more points now.
Yep. How do we close the gap on Duhamel Radford? I think Stobova Klimov will be interesting to watch. I love this team, and I think it's an interesting choice that I've never seen this in figure skating. They didn't pull out due to an injury or any kind of as far as I know, any kind of a friction with the Russian Skating Federation. They pulled out of Worlds because they thought, like, we don't want to get beaten again. We're gonna start our training season in preparation for the next season now to get better. I think their speed is exceptional. Their flow is exceptional. Their unison and symmetry of line, I think, is awesome.
Her landings on throws is just to die for. Like,
it's fierce, completely. And I think it'll be interesting to see, how they come off after, what has it been, like 6 months of off-season training that they've had as a consequence of wrapping up their season in January after the European Championships. Speaking of which, I mean, I'll be interested, like, what's the harmony like?
I don't know how he's still alive.
She gave him some
now.
Vicious stink eye after
that was some Barbara Fusar-Poli level, like.
It sure was. Like, so of course, when Fedor went, ass over tea kettle at the end of the European Championships, that free skate, which was theirs for the taking, and they didn't take it.
Yeah.
She didn't look very forgiving at him at all.
Well, I think at that point, with the loss of the Grand Prix final and the loss of Europeans, I think they sort of felt their momentum was slipping, and they really needed to make a change. And there's no point going to Worlds and like getting beat. And they probably would have been beaten by Sui and Han at Worlds as well. Maybe not Peng and Tong, but like they might have come third. But like they would have had to skate clean just to end up second. Like at Worlds, like it was just that competitive.
And it shows how competitive and how hungry they are. I mean,
Of course.
coming off of the Grand Prix final of the European Championships with 2 silver medals,
Yep.
there's nothing to sneeze at.
No, not at
But
all. And
they
they
won.
skated.
They won a
They
gold
skated well. Otherwise, like it's not like they
with a
had
fabulous short
meltdowns.
program.
Right. So, with the shoulder pads and the Mortal Kombat symbol.
Girl was rocking it. I mean,
Girl-
I hope she comes out with a pantsuit or a.
Well, speaking of new looks, can we talk about like all the female pair skaters like getting their
Yeah,
hair did? Like
totally.
what? Like everyone's getting the little Kaylee's Hillary Clinton like power. Like look at me, I'm a mature woman. Like Wen Jing like coming out with like the short hair and the crop. It's like it's almost like look at me.
Yeah.
I'm not a
So when
teenage
she's
girl.
got
I'm
her
not a teenage girl. I swear.
yeah.
Like,
So Senya's cut her hair off. Wen Zhang has cut her hair off. It's like they've just had babies, and it's like all the hair's got to come off. We got to be at the rink at 5:30.
we
I don't
gotta
have
land
time to
those.
put my hair in a ponytail and straighten it and all that curl, all that business. Like we got to get down to business.
Yeah,
We
it's
got
like
to catch up with Megan Duhamel.
who also cut her hair off. It's like we got quads to do. We don't want our hair flying in our face, so let's just everybody just crop it off and like let's get to the rink. So
Totally. What's funny is last year they were probably looking at Megan Duhamel like, look at that girl with her Hamel haircut, and now they're like, we need that.
she puts the Hamel in, make it do Hamel, right? So
Yeah, totally. But a bunch.
but yeah, so it's I mean Paris is changing, and
Yeah,
just a
I mean
quick note.
we've hardly talked about Velocity and Trankov. I don't think that they're necessarily going to dive in as it's a given that they're going to be re-coronated as the king and queen of pairs figure skating. Of course, they're sensational. I saw a clip of their short program and long program from the test skate in Russia this past weekend. I love their short program.
As a brown person, I have to love their short program. I mean,
Yeah,
it's no Davison White, but like it's the appropriate amount of cultural appropriation, as I like to call it,
yeah.
right?
And
So,
I think it makes a statement. It's not to be expected. I think it's a good program for a season like
mhm.
this. To come back with something strong. The
And
Dracula
they
free
do
skate.
that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, the Dracula free skate. I'm like, I'm not sold on it yet, but I probably need to see it competed a
I
couple
mean,
more
it's no
times
yellow
before.
pants, Jesus Christ, superstar, but
Yeah, totally.
but
Or Black Swan.
or
Like
Black Swan.
I
Oh
think Black
yeah.
Swan
Oh,
was
Black Swan was phenomenal. Like that
sensational.
was like
Sensational.
um,
They could bring that back
they
any
could bring
day. I
that
thought
back, and
that.
I'd be happy. Maybe not Evanescence, but but I mean, speaking of that, like it's nice to see that like uh, a championship Russian team not necessarily doing conventional classical pieces for all of their programs. Like their short programs are fun.
Yeah.
Even we saw with the Germans doing things like Pink Panther and stuff. Like that's another thing I'm loving about the Paris event. Not everyone, like people aren't all doing like traditional things. Like I love Duhamel and Radford's choice of Come Up May for their short program, and then doing Adele. I think it's reflective of how skating is starting to become more modern, and people are sort of like breaking and like with Yuzuru Hanyu's free skate, people are breaking away from like the war horses. I mean, like how many Phantoms and Carmens can we take, or Firebirds, or like Swan Lakes, right? But like it's nice that like skaters are actually starting to diversify, and we're really seeing that in pairs, especially.
Completely. Uh, so yeah, I think the Paris event will be exciting. My last note is a plea, just like many others have made to the French Figure Skating Association or Federation, to release Bruno Massot. Let Sadenko and
Let
Massot
Bruno Max
compete.
go. Yes.
I mean, I would love to be to do this exact same vlog in a year's time if we know that Savchenko and Massot are a thing,
Yeah,
skating on
DJ,
behalf of the team.
DDA,
Because,
come on, come
yeah,
on, DDA.
make this happen. Give it to us. I mean, the pairs competition is already totally fierce.
I
If
mean, especially in
Savchenko and
Russia.
Massot, totally. If Savchenko and Massot were a thing in the next season,
Oh, yeah.
the,
Well,
the standings would all be scrambled once again. I mean, it'd be
Paris is
fascinating.
always a marquee event, but I think in 2018, oh my God, you're gonna see like quad thirds, you're gonna see like I think the world is not ready for Paris in like 2018 because, obviously like we have things like associate Paris with like things like the Salt Lake City scandal and like things like that, but like I think like in 2018, people are really gonna see a new athletic side of Paris figure skating, and I think it's just really gonna give a huge jump start to the sport and make it more than about the politics and stuff. They're going to actually see that like these skaters are like elevating their sport.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that really brings pairs, our conversation on setting up 2015, 2016 in the pairs discipline to a wrap. So next, shall we talk ice dance, Myth?
Yes. So I will admittedly like neither Ted and I are the greatest ice dancers, and as my ice dance coach from years ago will attest, my tracking sucks, so I could never get that down. But I still remember quick steps, so I got some skills, right? I can still bust it out now and then.
Yeah,
But like like this team or this year is all about like whether the French team of Papadakis and Cizeron, who had that like unprecedented like leap from 13th 2 years ago to like world champions last year, if that
yeah,
momentum will stay. And I think that's the great thing about ice dance right now. Like you don't know what's going to happen. Like under 6.0, the judges had like a little powwow and just kind of like said, okay, so what are our ordinals going to be in the
yeah,
compulsories and the original dance and the free dance, and then the top 10 would be like 111, 222, 333, 444.
yeah. Who are we
But
slotting where?
yeah, who are we slotting where? And if somebody makes an error, okay, well, drop him down a spot, whatever. But now, like, there's such an importance on like levels, and tech specialists, like they have all the power now to like make or break an ice dance team. But that being said, like there was definitely movement. I mean, Papadakis and Cizeron were third at the Grand Prix final with I think like 167 points, but then they won Worlds with 184 points. And really, any of the top three teams from Worlds, Chalk and Bates, Weaver and Poje, and Papadakis and Cizeron, can win. Even Capolini and Lenote could also win. And like, I think underrated teams like the Shibutanis will put on a strong season next year. And of course, you have the Russians. Like where are the Russians? Because like Russians are always dominant in ice dance, but like now Ilinik and Jiganshin are sort of coming back, but they have also there's a lot of other young up and coming Russian teams, and I think Russia will put on a stronger Grand Prix series next year, and I think there'll be some surprises in ice dance.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think the way the world's finished in the ice dance competition in Shanghai was unprecedented. I
Not
mean,
as crazy as the year before with those like with like everyone
well, this
separated by
is
like
true. Everybody like so
yeah,
squished at the top,
but
but
yeah,
to see the French surge, to not even be, I think, in the top 10 the year prior, and then to jump up to number one with an amazing free skate that just ticked all the judges'
yeah,
boxes in terms
it
of
was like pure
romance
skating.
and great chemistry between the two skaters, classical dance lines, innovative. It was beautiful. It was beautiful to watch, and you got to think that Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Poche of Canada, after being undefeated all season long, I mean, winning the Grand Prix final, winning four continents to reaffirm that they're ahead of Chalk and Bates, for them to not win, and furthermore to wind up third, so to be demoted a medal
Which I
from
didn't quite agree with,
2014
but
silver. What's that?
I didn't quite agree with that, but like, and not just because I'm Canadian, but like, I mean, but it was very clear though that the French had surpassed them, which was I think the important point because like I think
Yeah.
everyone expected it to be either Chalk and Bates or Weaver and Poje, and then all of a sudden this French team in the course of a single season
Uh,
comes out. And what I love about them is that they're so balanced. Like they don't have that classic like really tall. like I love Koji, but they have like a really tall men's skater and then like this dramatic like women's skater who's just trying to like I don't know, like going full on Oksana Grishchuk and trying to win like an Olympic gold medal and an Oscar at the same time,
Yeah.
right? Like they actually have like a new. I think it's a new innovative way of skating, kind of throwing back to like Virtue Moore and Davison White, where it's really focusing on the sport of ice dance and
Yeah.
presenting it in a beautiful way and not just doing over the top dramatization, which is what ice dance has kind of classically been known as.
Yeah. So instead of, all the, the fancy costumes and the theatrics, they're kind of like the Adele of ice dance.
Yeah.
Like it's all about the skating.
Hmm.
They were very simply costumed in the free dance, and they let their skills and ability shine. I think the results couldn't be more perfect to set up a possible coming out of retirement for either Virtue and Moyer and or Davis and White,
Hmm.
because neither the Americans nor the Canadians actually clinched the gold at the World Championships. I think, for example, had Weaver and Poge won, Virtue and Moyer would probably feel a little sheepish about possibly coming back,
Hmm.
making a return to competitive figure skating, and upsetting the apple cart, so to speak, in terms of handing over, the world title or the being at the top of the world rankings to another Canadian team. So I think that is also highly exciting to watch and see how this next season as well plays out in terms of possibly enticing Virtue and Moyer and Davis and White back into competition, which
Hmm.
I think would be amazing.
Yeah, I think like both either of those teams returning, like they elevated the sport like with their
Oh,
skates like incredibly. And but I think kind of like Velocity and Trankov, the other teams in while they were away or in their stead have upped their game a little bit. So like the expected de facto like 10 20 points victory is it's a little tighter and like they will have to skate clean in order to. Uh, well, I mean, they still might win, but like it's not as cut and dry. I mean, I think if either Davis and White or Virtue and Moore had a major error, like a fall or something, a team like Weaver and Poge, or the French team, or Chalk and Bates could definitely like surpass them at this point. I mean, maybe not a
well,
couple
I
years from
don't.
now.
I mean, would they? I mean, I remember what was it?
Oh, the Grand Prix final.
Grand Prix final
Oh,
in 2012 when
right.
Scott went,
Ugh,
came down like a ton of
right.
bricks, and they
Yeah.
were still second. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see if I mean, fingers crossed, one of those teams or both teams both would make a comeback. So ice
Yeah.
dance promises to be fairly interesting as well this next
Should
season.
be a good event. I think of all the events, it's probably the least predictable in terms of like standings and like movement as well, which is weird because it's like ice dance. Like ice dance, like standings would change at a snail's pace, or you would have to depend on people to like retire so that you can just like move up a spot, right? So it's like we're now in a real like under this new system. Um, it's becoming really fascinating to see like how teams are responding to the changes and the difficulty. And I think it'll be really interesting to see which teams twizzle and which teams fizzle.
Yeah. Ooh, nicely done.
I've been saving that one. Okay.
Yeah, twizzling is when you're holding a Twizzler licorice and eating it while skating on the ice, right? That's a twizzle.
Twizzling is when I attempt to do a sit spin and travel so much that I get like I like they should give me air miles for how much I. But it'd be a level 4 twizzle. Just
Hey,
saying.
my
Just
twizzles are
saying.
just a series of three turns, so you still got me beat there. Okay, let's get on to the ladies, which I think is also going to be a burner in 2015, 2016.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
so Myth, I think the story is going to be Mao Asada's return to figure skating. The
Of
great Mao
course.
Asada, three-time world champion, Olympic silver
Gambate.
medalist, just the most loved and adored Japanese skater probably since Majori Ito, if not more so than Majori Ito. Um,
Ouch, Shizuka. Like,
oh yeah, sorry. Oh yeah, that Olympic champion
the Olympic gold medalist from Japan.
from 2006.
Just saying.
Okay,
Well,
but I mean, this is Mao Asada. I mean, she's
oh, she's
amazing. I mean,
incomparable. She's
yeah,
incomparable. Like.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be fascinating to see how she stacks up against Elizaveta Tuktumasheva, who has now sort of taken that rose to success in the void of Yuna Kim, Mao Asada, Carolina Kostner, and didn't just sort of move up the rankings by any means because she had essentially fallen off the map in 2013,
Mm.
2014. And then, like a phoenix, she rose from the ashes with that glorious triple axel in the short program at the 2015 World Championship. So, Myth, I think those will be the two women to talk about this season.
Hmm.
Um, I think though Elizaveta could win worlds again. She could barely come top 10. I don't have any prediction.
Yeah,
For
she's not
her.
quite a Letitia Hubert, but like you're right. She is that kind of skater,
She's
who
an unknown commodity in terms of as a world champion. I don't know what to expect from her, and
exactly.
possibly being the reigning world champion may just completely defeat her.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like well, it's like her situation is very similar to like the French ice dance team, where like she just came out of nowhere and just like like the French ice dance team, they rose the ranks throughout the season at a very rapid pace, especially in ice dance. But like she just started winning like from the get go, and she like not just winning, she competed a lot. She
Oh,
had a very busy season. Like
exhausting.
the only one who was really able to challenge her was Radionova, who I think is going to be her spoiler throughout the season, because Radionova she's starting to come into her own, and she's still maintaining her consistency in spite of like going through puberty right now, which clearly affected Yulia Lipnitskaya, who's also on the comeback. But I think Radionova will also be a really good contender, as well as Satoko Miyahara, who won the silver medal last year. I thought that was a bit of a surprise because like Satoko is a very elegant skater, and I loved her Miss Saigon free skate last year, but I didn't expect her to. I think people just expected Tuktamisheva and Radionova to go 1-2, but Radionova didn't have her best skate, and Miyahara capitalized. But it'll be interesting to see if how Miyahara will also respond to Mao coming back too, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think Miyahara, and personally, I even think Rantanova are sort of inconsequential. Well, I shouldn't say inconsequential, but I don't think they're going to factor into the podium to the same extent as as Mao, Tuktamasheva, and possibly even. I mean, we've now talked. How many ladies have we sort of bantered about in the past 5 minutes? We haven't even mentioned Adelina
oh,
Sotnikova,
all
the
right,
reigning
you're right.
Olympic champion, who's also coming back
Mm-hmm.
this season. I think that girl also has an uphill battle to overcome Tuktumasheva, Mao Asada, and both American ladies. I mean, Ashley Wagner and Gracie Gold were fourth and fifth at the World Championships. They've both been just on the cusp
So
of podium
close.
finishes for years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hey, I think it's possible that both of them could be on the podium,
Yeah.
this year. I mean, they are that good. Gracie finished the season promising that she was going to work on the triple axel and possibly even a quadruple jump over the summer. So we'll have an opportunity to see how she's doing with that.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley Wagner is holding on to her Moulin Rouge program. So she's just going to keep riding what worked for her last year. She's got a beautifully set out program that has like what is it, five of her seven triple jumps in the back half of the program
I
to
know that's pretty
to to
ambitious.
draw the to draw the 10% bonus, which she landed last year. So or came close to landing all of them last year,
Mm-hmm.
fully rotated and one footed. So it's going to be this is going to be an interesting discipline as well. I think Mao's ability to draw out every program component score is unrivaled, and how Tuktamasheva will be able to keep up with Mao. How Adelina Sotnikova will be able to sort of jockey and make her way in between the Americans. It'll be very interesting to see.
And just two more notes. Like one, I have to mention Evgenia Medvedeva because she is the world junior champion, and she is on fire, and she is a poster child for gaining points for under the COP system. I mean, she is incredibly consistent. She's worked on her LUTs, like getting the edge better, and she could probably land. Like Ashley does five triples in her long program at the end, like in the second half. Evgenia could probably do like all seven. Like she already
Yeah,
does.
and both
She
double axles.
and with Tanos at the same time, right? Like she is
Yeah,
just going for that grade of execution. Her short program dumps all three jumping passes in the latter half, which, as we've seen with Hanyu, like can score massive points. Um, I actually think that Medvedeva will beat Tuktamisheva at some point this season. I mean, that's a bit of a crazy prediction, but I think she's just so consistent that I think she'll be what Radionova was last season, kind of a junior skater, but because she has so much, she's so technically stacked and like consistent and such a good competitor, she will just like be on fire. I mean, and what would a figure skating season be without like some young Russian like just winning everything,
every yeah,
like Tuktami Shevade, like
every
Radionova, like
season they
Lipnitskaya,
have,
like
the
yeah, it's
next. Yeah, it's. I mean, I think the Russian national championships are going to be a
oh yeah,
catfight.
that's gonna be some great. That'll be some triple triples like ever, and
Totally.
that's just the junior Russian nationals. Like the seniors are gonna be like are also gonna be really good, but with more maturity, right? So. And you know,
Totally.
Adelina will probably do her like if you've seen her program, like she has that dramatic like thing at the end of the judges being like, give me the PCS marks.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
I mean, it's not waving during her spiral, but like, like
It's close.
she's definitely not shy. And I think being on Dancing with the Stars has really improved her musicality and stuff. So if she gets her jumps back, which is a bit of a question mark, she could be a factor as well. And of course, like being Canadians, I mean, who else do we have to talk about?
Caitlin Osmond.
Yes, Miss Caitlin Osman is coming back. She is on the comeback trail, comeback queen. She has the likes of Alain Chatrand and Gabby Daleman to deal with. Alain Chatrand also being a girl who will be attempting the triple axel this season. Like,
Yeah.
good on her, right? Like, but like Caitlin Osman will be a huge story in Canada, and it'll be um, a big question as to whether she can regain the form that she has and up that, because that's what she needs to actually like get those Grand Prix medals and really cement herself back as like Canada's number one lady.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say she's going to do it. She's going to recalibrate where Canadian ladies figure skating went in her absence.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to resume her spot at the top of the heap confidently with a sensational performance. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
girl broke her leg,
Yeah,
and in the meantime has mastered the triple loop, which she couldn't do prior to breaking her leg.
yeah,
And based on what I'm seeing on social media, her jumps have the exact same, if not more, spring. The triple triple is it's still there. It's
yeah.
fully rotated.
Triple
She's
flip,
got
triple
spark.
toe. Yeah.
I think she is one of, if not the most dynamic skater on the ladies' scene. Myth, I still remember seeing her live at the 2013 World Championships in
Oh, in
London,
London. Yeah.
Ontario. And she surprised everybody when she came fourth after the short program.
Should have
So
come second or third, or should have come third.
yeah,
Right.
she was actually
I mean, I
undermarked,
like
and yet
Costner,
at her
but
first World Championships, still made a splash with a fourth place finish. So there she
or
was
in the short.
practicing. Sorry, fourth place finish in the short. So there she was practicing with the other heavyweights, for in the final flight on the day of the free skate. So she was on the ice with Carolina Kostner, Yuna Kim, Ashley Wagner. She did not look a bit out of place. She was unflustered by the caliber of the competition around her. She went about, did her business, landed what she needed to in the practice. I mean, yes, the free skate was a different story, and I
It
think
was her first
that
Worlds.
It was her
Also,
first Worlds. It was in, it was in Canada. So, she's got the home country pressure. And there she is on the final flight. I think she was the last skater. No, that was Una Kim. Anyways, doesn't matter. But
but to
yeah.
skate before Una Kim is also.
Oh, and I mean, she was, so I love the skater. I think she's so good for Canada. And I
And
can't wait to
I
see
think
what she
she's
comes out with.
also great for figure skating because unlike a lot of other ladies in the field, if she's having an off skate, she still performs the heck out of a program.
Yes.
Come hell or high water, she is selling a program like she got rent due that night. Like that like kudos to her. She knows exactly how to engage an audience,
Yeah.
and she make what I love about her. She makes skating not look as much like a competition as much as a performance, and
Yeah.
it that's something that is very rare, and I think. Um, It'll be very interesting to see what the judges do with her next season if she hopefully starts off strong. Um, I
Yeah.
mean,
You mean the international judges?
yeah, the international judges, yes,
Yeah.
the
Right.
Canadian judges love
The
her.
Canadian judges are going to be like, "Oh, thank
They'll be
God you're
like, "Thank
back."
God."
Yeah.
No,
Where have you
okay.
been?
To be fair, Alain did maintain two spots at Worlds, which in a very stacked field, and I think her and Gabby have a lot to prove and a lot to like defend with Caitlin coming back. So it'll be interesting, especially like Gabby, who didn't have a great World. So I think they have a lot to prove. I mean, Chaltran won a surprise bronze at like Cup of Russia.
Yeah.
So like she already got a little bit of momentum, and she's got some very strong jumping passes in very high technical difficulty. I think the
Yeah.
grade of execution on her jumping passes will gradually improve, especially working at the cricket club with like Brian Orser and everyone. But I think there's still a lot of potential, and um, we might hopefully get back to the days of like Rochette and like Faneuf, where we would have like really two strong um, female skaters to put on the world
Yeah.
stage, maybe three. So we'll see how
Yeah.
that goes.
Yeah. Could you imagine a three-member Canadian world team? How
Yeah,
exciting would that be for
that would be
ladies? I mean,
awesome.
I can't remember
I
the
can't
last
remember
time.
last time we had one, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all good. It's all good.
Yeah, so the ladies event will be interesting and one to watch as well. So, Myth, I want to pick your brain a little bit in terms of what's happening with any changes in judging and uh, point tabulating. Can you bring me up to speed
Oh
on what's happening
yes.
there?
Like all the mathematics. Like I should get my calculator out because
Yeah, well,
um,
you already threw it down earlier when you were talking about the French ice dance team getting 167 at the Grand Prix final
oh,
and
I know
scoring
my
in the
numbers.
180s. I was like, numbers, numbers. Don't know what
Numbers.
this is.
I don't. I see medals and sequins.
Totally.
No, I like Ted obviously has all the knowledge about skaters and like how awesome they are,
Okay.
and I'm just like a geek who
How
just
awesome
like
they are. The
yeah.
color of their scrunchie.
Yeah, you do the scrunchies, I'll crunch the numbers. Okay, so
Yeah, totally. Does the hue of that magenta actually match her costume? Questionable.
I don't know. Like
Over to Myth for the actual like,
that's why she got that costume violation -1 point, right?
hello.
So okay, so obviously with Coda points, there have been a couple changes. The a triple Sakao and a triple toe loop are both worth point 0.2 more, and same thing with a throw quad. Uh, a couple of the throw quads in pairs, yay, a whole point 0.2. So, but in singles that'll help because like a lot of skaters do triple toe, and triple sow series combinations. So that will kind of give an advantage to skaters like Tuktami Shiva and like Radionova, who tend to like really go for those sequence or for those combinations.
Yeah.
There are a couple things like we'll get to the throws, but like one thing they have now is called a V1, which if you under rotate or get an edge call on a jump, you get a -30% deduction, and if you do both of those things, you get a -50% deduction. So like technical specialists like who make those calls have a lot of power, because like on top of that you have
Yeah.
your grade of execution deduction, where if you under rotate and flood a jump, you'll probably get -2s, -3s. So there, like, there's a deduction on top, and if you fall, there's another deduction. So
Yeah.
these deductions are really starting to rack up, and I think like we haven't seen it so much in the past seasons, but I think with everyone stepping up their game and results getting a lot tighter, I think we're bound to see one or two controversial like results where
Yeah.
somebody might end up like ahead of another skater, in spite of flutzing or in spite of under rotating. So that's something interesting to watch, because really like with such a severe deduction, you could lose 3 or 4 points, which could be the difference between like gold and like fifth in some
Yeah, sure.
cases.
Yeah. Do you think that the deductions on under rotating are almost an incentive, are becoming an incentive just to double the jump? So if you're heading into the jump and you get a bad takeoff, don't keep pulling in for the triple. Just do a double.
I think like it's still more advantageous to like do an under rotated triple than a double. Um, Even with like the grade of execution usually being negative and like losing 30%. I mean, the system is
Right.
still scaled to protect it that way. Like a triple flip, like under rotated, is like probably 3.5 points ish, which is still more than 1.8 points that you'd get for like a double flip. So it's not it's still scaled properly that way. Not so much in pairs, which is kind of mini rant that that we both agree with, which is that throws in pairs are just not worth enough. Like it's not
Yeah.
worth the risk. I mean, it's which kudos to the pairs for still going for throws, even though like a well executed triple Salchow can get as many points as like a quad Salchow with like a touchdown of your foot, like, or a hand
Yeah.
down. Like it's just absolutely absurd, and that's something that I know I know the ISU is doing that so that to prevent like skaters from potentially injuring themselves. But like I love how the pairs are just like, well, screw it, we're just gonna try them anyway. Screw you,
Oh,
ISU. Like we're just gonna go for those throw quads because we know that like at this point like it's getting tight and every point matters. But that's a little gripe that I have, along with the edge call deductions. But
well, yeah, and also the fact that the bonus that single skaters achieve or are given for attempting high risk elements like jumps in the back half of their short program and long program. Why that doesn't exist in pairs, I don't understand it.
I
I
don't
give
I don't.
I give full points to pairs that do space out their elements,
Mm,
like Stolbova and Klimov,
right.
like Duhamel Radford. But you still have like the Kavagutis and Smirnovs of the sport that just do jump element to twist to jump element to throw, get it all done in the first like 1 minute 45 seconds of the program.
Plushenko would love those layouts. Just
Yeah, totally.
get all difficulty out of the way, and then have your step sequence. Go win.
Totally have that hideous step sequence with like crazy
Oh,
hip gyrations.
oh,
But
we love
why
you,
they don't.
Evgeny, but just,
Yeah, oh, Evgeny. Anyways, that would be like an entire episode in and of itself. Just Evgeny, an hour about
an
Evgeny
hour of
with 5 viewers. But yeah, I mean, why they don't introduce that extra bonus for elements down in the back half
my theory
of
is
the short of long and pairs discipline? I don't get it.
my theory is that like there's some damn Russian fan person in the ISU who is like,
You don't
Velocitron and
say.
Trankov's records are going to stand until the end of time. We are not going to like let anything touch that. Same thing with Stolbova and Klima, like or Shen and Zhao. Like, um, these are all like sacred records, and we're gonna like not
Oh,
give any like they're even in the short program like pairs are restricted to like a group 3 lift, which is worth I think a base value of only 5 points versus like 7 points or something for like a reverse lift, which most of them can execute. So even that like there are like requirements which are actually like it's like the ISU is trying to fight the pairs of today who are trying like harder difficulty, like they're trying to scale them back and like trying
yeah.
to like reduce incentive for like making their programs more difficult, which is so weird. But like I love how like the pairs today aren't even given the crap, and they're just like starting to do like harder difficulty and trying to like really maximize the points
Really, yeah,
in the
really
system.
pushing the sport. You're
Yeah.
not seeing just the same old, throw triple Salchow, throw triple loop, side by side triple toe loop, side by side double axles. They're really mixing it up, and I think Duhamel and Radford have led that charge.
Yes, for sure. And of course, you have like other awesome teams like like Valentina Marche and Andre Hodorak who are also doing side by side triple Lutzes. So
Yeah,
like it's kind of a brave new world for like figure skating because
in pairs, yes.
like especially in pairs. Like I always wonder. I'm like there were so many good single skaters. I mean, who switched to pairs, but also pairs. I know they've pairs. There's always been such a focus on connection, and this leads to disparities in like component scores, which allows teams to get like literally like 15 to 20 point advantages over second tier teams just based on their artistry. So it doesn't really matter what technical elements they execute as long as they do a fairly decent job. Like it doesn't difficulty wasn't a huge thing, but now it's really becoming important. Same thing in the men's event. Same thing in the ladies event. That's why you get like Tukta Misheva like trying triple axles so that she can like hang with Mao. I'm not quite sure what like Radianova and all will do. I mean, they can definitely improve their basic skating, which I think
Yeah,
is a great focus for them. But
yeah.
like all these skaters, like I'm sure some female skaters got to be hungry to land that first quad toe, right? Like they will like some. There has got to be a Saria Bonali somewhere who
Yeah.
will throw out the rest of her damn program so she can land that quad toe, come hell or high water, and celebrate a
Totally.
little too hard and fall after it.
Yeah, totally. Take one step, boom, go down
Yeah,
like a ton of bricks.
with like the
Uh,
fierce like ponytail as well. I had no
yeah,
idea how she
and
did that, but
yeah, totally. That was connected to the costume or some
I know,
such
right?
nonsense.
Good for her. Good
Um,
for her.
but what will be actually very interesting with Mao from a technical standpoint is that I mean the woman has experience like as long as Marina Anastasi's fake hair, but I tell you, she's never been on the ice practicing
Yeah.
or warming up with another skater who's going after the triple axel.
Yeah. I think I
So
think I
let's,
think Oksana
hypothetically, if she's on the ice with, Gracie Gold, who might be doing a triple axel, and Elizaveta, who's going to be continuing to master her triple axel, that could be, that will be a new world and a new environment for Mao. That she will not be the queen of the triple axel necessarily anymore.
yeah, that triple axel head to head will be great. And I also personally think that like in ladies figure skating, like the scaling of a triple axel should be higher to like I know people will be like, "Oh, well, it's going to encourage girls to like go after it and potentially injure themselves." I think athletes know themselves and like they'll push themselves and if they really want to win,
Yeah.
like they you could like you
Except
could
the Russian girls under Russian coaches.
well, yeah, they're gonna start them out. They
Let's
come
be
out of the womb, and
honest.
it's like go double axle, right? So,
They'll be
um,
like, you should be able to do rotations on an axle according to your age. If you're three
oh
rotations on
yeah.
the axle.
Well, I
Sure.
think I think Alexei Mishin said something like if like a girl isn't able to land a triple Lutz by the age of 12, like she'll have like no future skating or something really harsh like that. But
Wordle.
I know, but
And yet they're producing this
oh my
ridiculous
god,
factory of
a Russian.
skaters, of Russian ladies
Yeah,
skate.
we haven't even talked about like the Junior Grand Prix series, which is also going on right now, which is like tons of skaters like Surkaya and like Satskova and like a couple Japanese girls like Kihara and like there's all these up and comers in all these disciplines who are
Yeah, who,
just
who we will be talking about in senior ranks in a matter of a year or
in a matter of a
less.
year or less. Exactly. I mean, there. I think figure skating is really going through this transformation where like technical ability is starting to get a little more props
Yep.
and it's weird to see like resistance like from the ISU by introducing edge calls with more severe deductions, which frankly would discourage people from trying a triple Lutz because
Mhm.
oh an edge call would drop it to the base value of a clean double axle. Like why would I try a triple Lutz then, right? Like it's stuff like that I think holds and making quad throws not as valuable. It's stuff like that holds it back. But it's nice to see that the skaters are not backing down and they're actually like making efforts to like improve themselves technically. And I think even artistically, um, like skaters are starting to distinguish themselves. When we saw like the Coda point system introduced, like a lot of people would try to like game it for points, and programs looked a little homogenous. But now that skaters are getting more comfortable with harder difficulty or like trying stuff like that, they're also pushing themselves to like distinguish their programs from each other. So I think next season will definitely be like a very evolved form of the sport, both like technically and hopefully artistically as well.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. We've touched on some of the high notes. There are going to be subplots that will unfold rather, as we progress through the season. And I guess as we're winding down this first episode, we encourage you to follow us on social media. Myth, you want to tell us about, or tell our viewers about where they can reach us online?
Yes, you can follow us on Twitter. We are the Blade Boys because we're men and we like skating. I know it was
The Blade Boys.
It was good.
That's good.
So you can email us at askthebladeboys@gmail.com. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is what you're
probably just down there
currently watching. Yeah, I'm gonna eventually figure out how annotations work, and I'm gonna be like, they're here. Yeah. But yeah, this is a bit of a Brave New World for us. But thank you for watching, and like we're looking forward to a great season. And in fact, like next week, somebody's going to Nebelhorn Trophy and seeing a couple comebacks, right?
Yes, I'm going to be in Oberstdorf and watching one of the big kickoff events of the season at Nebelhorn Trophy. So watch this space and watch our Twitter handle for whatever sort of video capturing I'm able to do while I'm there of I think Velocishar Trankov will be there. Caitlin Osmond will be there. Mirai Nagasu, who I love. Don't go there, Myth. Don't rain on my parade just yet.
I like Mirai, and she's also trying, like, potentially be trying a triple axel. So, like,
she's been going after the triple axel in competition or in practice as well. So, yeah, it'll be a great competition, and watch this space for highlights of that.
Okay, and I guess like Midori Ito's fabulous jumps, that's a wrap.
Bye.
Bye.